Hi, everybody. I'm an alcoholic, and my name is Roy. And by the grace of a power greater than myself, I have not found it necessary to drink today, for which I am very grateful. My sober date is 22nd April 1990. That is the day I took my last drink. And Ashwin, good to have you with us. I also have just had three heart attacks on December 25th, Jan 1st, Jan 3rd. I was in ICU for a week and I'm out of hospital and now with doctor's permission have limited contact with people on phone and in person. So, quick thing is now we have come to chapter 5 of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And the very interesting thing is that in many meetings around the world, we read this chapter every day. And in the second paragraph, we are actually given instructions on how to share at meetings. Look what it says. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. In a general way, not in a specific way. When I first came to AA, and even till today, when I go for meetings and I hear people sharing their experience, my God, they get so specific. They will say 22nd June, 11:23 in the evening. I was going from Chandni Chowk to Qutub Minar. And after 3 kilometers on the left hand side, one buffalo was crossing, and I turned left, and the bike went. Was general way. I was under the influence of alcohol. I lost control. I had an accident. It's written in the big book. General, what we used to be like. What we used to be like. It means what was it? What was it like? Then what happened, and what it's like now. So where can I get a guideline for that? So I don't know who had done Bill's story, but if you go back to Bill's story is a blueprint of how to share at meetings. Bill's story from page 1 to page 7, it describes what it used to be like. He had a good life, he started drinking, the drinking increased, he started having problems. Okay, from page 1 to page 7. He, what happened from page 7 to page 14? What happened? The problems became great. He realized he has a problem. He tries willpower to stop. He stops, he starts, he stops, he starts. He loses business. Life becomes bad. Finally, he is admitted to Town's Hospital and meets Dr. Silkworth. He takes the treatment. He comes out. He relapses. Goes back to hospital. Comes out. Relapses. His friend comes and tells him about the Oxford group. He tries that program. Goes back to the hospital. Detoxes. Never drinks again. 7 pages of what it used to be like, 7 pages of what happened. What happened is how my life became, how I got the message, how I did the steps. And page 16 and 17 is what it is like now. I came out of hospital, my wife and I helped many people. I'm still, and at the end of his story, it says he died sober, 24th Jan 1971. That is the blueprint. So if some group calls you to share and says, hey, we'll give you 15 minutes or 20 minutes, 7 minutes you tell your drunkalog, 7 minutes tell your recovery. How did you get sober? How did you do the steps? And 1 or 2 minutes, what's it like now? So I'm not going to take 7 minutes, but I'll be even brief. I'll try and do it in 2 or 3 minutes. What was it like? I had a pretty good life. I grew up in Bombay. Alcohol was accepted in my family. We were given a glass of wine or a beer as we were young kids. When I was 16, my father died. I went to college. Within a week, I started drinking and using drugs with other students in the college. 3 years, wild parties. Eventually, I was kicked out of the college. Started working full time. Drinking changed. Went from weekend drinking to daily drinking, then increased drinking. Then started having problems with my relationship. I was engaged to be married. Drinking increased. I started having problems at work. Drinking increased. Had an enlarged liver at age 26. Drinking increased. Had a motorcycle accident at age 28, which almost killed me. Drinking increased. Tried a suicide attempt 17th February 1990. Next day, I came sober for an AA meeting. That's what it used to be like. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of pain. A lot of attempts to stop, a lot of attempts to control. What happened? What happened was I got the message of Alcoholics Anonymous in 1984, age 22, from my grandmother. And I started going for meetings in 1984 while drinking and while having these problems. And when I went to the meeting, what message did I get? I didn't get any message about Big Book. I didn't get any message about steps. Message I got was put the plug in the jug, come every day for a meeting. Meeting a day keeps a bottle away. 7 days without a meeting makes 1 week. Make 90 meetings in 90 days. Come early, do service, get a sponsor, do whatever your sponsor tells you to do. Nothing about steps. So basically, I'm being asked to use willpower and hang out with you people. End result 1984 to 1990, I kept drinking, went through 6 jobs, broken engagement, enlarged liver, motorcycle accident, suicide attempt. So that's what it was like. What happened? Finally, I came back to AA, 18th of February 1990, sober. Stayed sober a week, drank again, 1 day sleep. Stayed sober 2 weeks, drank again, 3 weeks sleep. Came back to AA, stayed sober 3 weeks, had a 1 day sleep. So my last drink was on 22nd April 1990. And the next day, 23rd April, I came to the meeting and I met this guy who became my first sponsor. That night itself, after the meeting, we did step one, two, three, half an hour. That night itself, I started writing my fourth step. And within a couple of months, I was done. I would meet him once a week. He worked 6 days a week in Mazagon Docks. He went for only one meeting a week. He saw me 1 day off he had. 1 hour for me, 1 hour for meeting, rest of the time for his family. I finished the steps in 3 months. I never drank again. But the meetings had not changed. People were still telling drunkalogs what it was like and what it was like and what it was like and what it was like. And then we came to A and we did meetings and we remained happily ever after. Bloody, how the hell are these people doing this? Yeah. And they are doing it. I'm not sitting in judgment. I am just sharing my experience. So I was ready to take retirement from AA when I came to 1 year sober. Said, that's it. I'm done. Now I'll have a new program, 90 days. Every 90 days, I will come for 1, 2 days just to show you people. I'm sober. And by the grace of the Almighty, my sister sent me a big book from USA. And my auntie brought me some sharings of some old timers from Australia. And I started listening to those sharings. And that described how to correctly do the steps using the big book. I did the steps again, 1 year sober. My life completely changed. I recovered from my alcoholism. Got my job back in the film industry. 3 years later, I went to Sharjah. Got a job over there. With another member, we started the first AA meeting in Sharjah. 1 year later, I went to the US. At age 35, I went to college. I did 2 years college. I became a certified counselor. 20 years, I ran rehabs in the US as director of 4 different rehabs. And then finally, I came back to a. I got married in recovery. I got divorced in recovery. I have a 22-year-old son who's never seen me drink. Started my own business when I turned 58. And like I said, I've recently had a heart attack. So now everything has slowed down. I see only 3 or 4 patients a day. I'm 62 years old. I don't drink. I'm enjoying life. This is the line, page 58. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. I have not told you the names of my wife or my son. I have not told you the names of any of the companies I worked for. I have not told you the names of the colleges or schools that I went to. I have not told you the names of the member that took me through the steps. It's a program of anonymity. I told you what I did for a living. I'm not telling you where I work, general way. So now, starting from this chapter, you know, how it works. What is it? It is getting down to the reasons we drank. As Sudhir pointed out at the start, the book opens the batting with the doctor's opinion. The doctor tells us this is a disease, this is a illness. And that's wonderful because Sudhir tells me it's an illness. Sir, where is your medical degree, sir? Sudhir and I are good friends for, I think, since 2001, over 20 years. But I don't trust his medical opinion. Right now, I had a heart attack. I guarantee you, 100 people in AA will give me opinions. Are have methi, don't eat watermelon, don't walk, do this, do that, you yoga. Boss, do you have a medical degree? I have a cardiologist and a dietitian. So doctor says this is a disease, I believe it. And then the next four chapters talk only about step one and step two. Bill story is an example of the guy with the disease. More about alcoholism tells us the solution on page 25. Spiritual experience, deep and effective. Appendix 2 tells us that the spiritual experience is nothing more than a personality change. More about alcoholism talks about the insanity, the mental part of the illness, which the doctor talked about. V agnostics is wonderful because it tells me about the need to believe, how to believe, own concept. So, step one, I'm powerless. My life is unmanageable. Step two, where alcohol is concerned, I'm insane. And I'm willing to believe that some power greater than me can restore me to sane thinking, whole thinking, complete thinking. How it works. So now I know step one, I know step two. So why did I drink like this? And myself included, many members of AA, they come to AA. They take step one, yes, I'm powerless. Yes, my life's unmanageable. Yes, I'm crazy. Yes, I believe in God, I'm willing to God. And then they drink again. What is missing? The first part of the missing link is it. And IT over here is not information technology. Okay. It is step three and step four. Because now they're going to ask us to make a decision to turn our will and lives over to the care of God as we understand God. And they're going to help us get down to causes and conditions. So I'll just share a couple more things about these pages. So this is not the original how it works. The original how it works, which Bill W. had written and taken to the meeting, it was very directive. So you do this, you do that, and then we'll see. And the members at the meeting say, boss, this is too strict. You have to make it a little gentler. I'll give you some examples of Bill's original how it works. Page 58, second last paragraph. At some of these, you may balk. You may think you can find an easier, softer way. We doubt if you can. Last line. Remember, you are dealing with alcohol. Cunning, baffling power. Page 59, first paragraph. You must find God now. Half measures will avail you nothing. You stand at the turning point. Throw yourself under God's mercy and protection with complete abandon. Now we think you can take it. Step number three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care and direction of God as we understood Him. Step number six, were entirely willing that God remove all these defects of character. Step number seven, humbly on our knees asked Him to remove our shortcomings, holding nothing back. Step number eight, made a list of amends of people we had harmed and became willing to make complete amends to them all. Wow, pretty challenging. And then on page number 60, we just read out the ABCs, and my friend Sudhir referred to that also. This is what the original ABC sounded like, that you are an alcoholic and cannot manage your own life, that no human power can relieve your alcoholism, that God can and will. And then Bill wrote one classic line which I love, but which the group conscience of the 100 members removed. And here's the line, it says, if you are not convinced on these vital issues, you ought to reread the book up till this point or else throw it away. Wow, that's amazing. You see, because the next two words are being convinced. That being convinced, we were at step three. So, when we say 100 people wrote the book, yes, Bill W. was the main author. But he would write a few pages, bring it to the meeting. The New York group would do editing. Then they would mail it to the Akron group, where Dr. Bob and his buddies would do editing. Then they would send it to the Cleveland group, where Clarence S. and his buddies would do editing. And then it came back to New York. And what we got back is the changes and all that made by 100 people, total group conscience. I personally love that line. And I think it's true. If you're not convinced that you are powerless, that you can't stop, that you can't control, if you're not convinced that your life is not unmanageable, if you're not convinced that the main problem is in the mind and where drinking is concerned, you're insane, if you're not convinced that some power greater than you can restore you to sound thinking, why are you wasting your time? I got a message yesterday from some guy, I don't know who he is. Oh, hi, please send me a meeting list for Goa. Just like that, random, out of the blue. So I sent him a reply, who are you, please? So he gave his name, I'm so and so. So I said, listen, this is the number for GOA Intergroup. Please call them and ask them. And this is the website for a India. Go there and search for a meeting. I was helpful. So the guy replied, oh, I'm coming to AA for 5 years. I keep on slipping. And now I'm sober 50 days or 40 days or whatever. So I asked him a simple question, sir, have you done all the 12 steps? Just now we read, here are the steps we took which are suggested as a program of recovery. He said, no, I have not done the steps. I said, how do you expect to stay sober? Coming to AA and not doing the 12 steps is like going to a shop and not eating pizza. Going to a pizza shop and saying, Arey, give me one cup of tea. How the hell are you going to say I enjoyed a pizza? How can you say this pizza shop is not working? It is useless. Oh, AA doesn't work. I'm going for so many years. There are two parts to AA. One part is fellowship. That is what we are doing now. We are sharing our experiences. The second part is the actual program. Now, when you go to a doctor's office, and I've given this example several times. Right now, I've had 3 heart attacks, like Brother Ashwin. Can you imagine if I go to the hospital and while I'm in the hospital, I say to the doctors, "Nee, I don't want medication. I don't want a drip. I don't want insulin. I don't want you to check my BP. Please don't take my sugar. Don't do my oximeter. Don't come and visit me every half an hour to see what my vitals are showing." Then can I leave the hospital and say this hospital is bekar, it doesn't work? What the hell am I doing in AA for 6 years? 1984 to 1990. I came for meetings, I didn't do the steps. And then I said, AA is useless, it doesn't work. I have not taken the treatment. So we come to step three, being convinced, it says on page 60 after ABCs. Being convinced, we were at step three, which is that we decided to turn our will and lives over to the care of God as we understand God. Okay? Just what do we mean by that and what do we do? The first requirement is that we be convinced that any life run on self will can hardly be a success. So they have used some different terms over here now. He said, being convinced, we were at step three, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understand God. The first requirement is that any life run on self will can hardly be a success. So the first word is decision. What is the meaning of decision? If you look up the word decision in the dictionary, decision means it's from Latin, from the word incise, I-N-C-I-S-E, to incise, to cut, to make a choice. So I am being asked, okay, to make a decision, to make a choice, to cut. To cut what? To cut away my whole life of powerlessness of alcoholism, of unmanageability, of insanity. I'm being asked to make that choice to turn my will. What is will? Will is my thinking. What do I mean by that? You see the page 23 of the big book. It says, right on the top of the page, it says the main problem of the alcoholic centers in the mind. Main problem is the mind. Today I am sober 33 years and 10 months. I live in Goa. If my mind tells me, Arey, have a drink, nothing will happen. That is the main problem. I cannot say I had a craving. Craving only starts after the booze go in. So the main problem is in the mind. Why am I speaking at this meeting? Because my good friend Sudhir, he approached me a few days ago and he said, can you please speak at this meeting? And I told him, listen, I get very tired when I speak for long. And this kind of message has to be given properly. You can't give this message in 10, 15 minutes. It has a proper message has to be given. So I said, Sudhir, I am not allowed to speak for so long by my doctor. You know, even when I see my patients now, I do 4 sessions a day. Mostly the patient is talking, I'm listening. My input is very little, you know. But I said, let me get back to you. I prayed, then I called my doctor and I said, look, I'm being asked to speak. And the doctor gave the permission to do that. Okay. All this is happening in the mind. Will I do this? Shall I do this? Can I do this? Before I make a decision, I took the action. And then I said to Sudhir, yes, I will share at your meeting on whatever doctor's opinion and on how it works. I will. So my will comes from my mind. My will is my thinking. So why am I being asked to turn my will over to the care of God? Why? Because page 23, the main problem is in the mind. You know what my mind tells me? Okay, you had 3 heart attacks, now that's fine. No, don't cycle 20 kilometers every day, cycle only 5. My doctor said, are you mad? No cycling, you can walk. My mind says, okay, instead of going back to work full time and seeing 8, 10 patients every day and one AA meeting and 4, 5 sponsors, I'll do 6. Doctor said, nothing doing. You can see only 4 patients. You can talk to only 2 AA people half an hour per day. No cycling, you can walk 1 kilometer. I am following her directions precisely, exactly as she has told me to do it. So you see, I have to make a choice to turn my will, my thinking, and my life. What is my life? My life is a series of actions based on my will, based on my thinking. But look at the words used in the big book. It said made a decision to turn. I don't know about you guys, but you know what message I heard 1984 to 1990? Hand over. You have this problem, hand over to God. You have that problem, hand over to God. You have this problem, hand over. Boss, I got no job. Hand over to God. God will solve problem. I got no girlfriend. Hand over to God. What bloody nonsense. They're not saying hand over. They're saying turn over. Some guy tells me in Dubai, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm crying, I don't have a license. Hand it over to God. God will send you one license in the mail. What bloody nonsense. What stupid messages. How many newcomers have we old timers killed by giving this message? The word is turn. I'll give you 2 examples of difference between turnover and handover. The first was during COVID, total lockdown. Every evening they would open for 1 hour so we can go quickly to the shop and bring some dal, chawal, whatever. So it opened. I jumped on my motorcycle and I went. No helmet, no license, nothing. Aadha chaddi, paisa and pocket. Ahead was a police checkpoint, Nakabandi. So what do you think I did? You think I went to the police and said, here I am a member, I am 32 years sober, I have no license, I have no helmet, I'm handing myself over to you. Ganta, I turned, I made a choice. I went in a different direction. I escaped from Patli Gully, went home, got my license, helmet, and then I went. That is turn. What is handover? I'll give another example of turnover. When my son was born, my wife and I were working full time. Childcare in the US is very expensive. It's $10 an hour. There's $80 a day. That is almost 5 or 6,000 rupees a day. But we had to do it. We were both working full time. So what did we do? In the morning, we would turn our child over to the care of the child care people. We will not hand over and say, okay, see you when he's 18 years old. We turned him over to their care and they cared for him. They gave him food, they made him sleep, they taught him ABC, 1, 2, 3. And in the evening, they would turn the child back over to us. I'm being asked to make a decision to turn my will, my thinking over to the care of God. And step 3 is going to tell me how to do that. Then what is handover? In my drinking days, I would go to Dubai. I used to get free tickets working in the airport. Go to Dubai, come back with 6 bottles of scotch. What is the custom officer going to say? Hello, Roy, you're only allowed 2 bottles. What happens to the other 4 bottles? Hand over. Am I going to get it back? No. So they say in step 3, page 60, being convinced, we decided, made a choice to turn our thinking and our actions over to the care of God. God, here is my thinking for today. You please take care of it. That's going to happen in step 3 and step 11. Then they made another line. This is very important. And I know I'm taking more time on step 3 because step 3 is the key. It is the keystone to the whole program. If I don't get step 3, I can do as many step 4s as I want. I will drink again. Step 4 is very quick and very easy. Step 3 is the key. It says the first requirement is that any life run on self will can hardly be a success. They didn't say the first suggestion. This is the first requirement. Okay. Like Ashwin, for me, if I want to remain in good health, The first requirement is that I follow my doctor's orders and not doctor's direction and not all the suggestions I get in AA from non-medical, well-meaning people. So what is self? First requirement is will. I know will is thinking, but what is self? I didn't know what is self. So I started researching and I got a beautiful answer in another book called The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. So on page 42, 43 of the 12 and 12, they give a beautiful description. They say creation gave us instincts for a purpose. Everybody, it says on page 42 of the 12 and 12, is given three instincts. First instinct is survival, second instinct is social, third instinct is sexual. Survival. To survive, I must eat. Correct? To eat, I need money. Or so I have to beg or borrow or work or steal. When a baby is born, what is the first thing the baby does? It cries. Wah! Who is taught this baby that it should cry when it comes out? It knows if I cry, I'll be given food. Survival instinct. We say instinct because you don't have to be taught. It is natural. It's in my DNA. After a few weeks, the baby is at home, is lying in the cot. Suddenly realize that nobody is paying attention to me. What does the baby do? Wah! Five people come running. Social instinct. I always, if I make a racket, you know, people will come, they will look after me. Go outside in any playground and take a look at small children who are 2, 3 years old. They just play bindas. Rich will play with poor, black with white, Hispanic with non-Hispanic, Arabs with Jew. They're just children. They will play. It is a social instinct. But even in that, you will see one person has become the boss. Hey, you go here. You don't talk to him. You become katti. So social instinct is not only the society of others, but recognition. The third instinct is sex instinct. I don't know about you people, but I grew up in India. And in 1970s, there was no sex education in India. Sex education was whatever the 10th standard boys were talking about. But when I was 12 or 11 or 13 or whatever, the first time I was aroused, I was in the shower. And hey, what is this? And I quickly realized that by taking a few actions, I would become happy. So you see, when the instincts are fulfilled, as it says in the 12 and 12, we feel happy. When I get money, I know I'm going to survive. I feel happy. When someone says, good job, Roy, thank you, Roy, social instinct, I feel happy. Someone says, come to a party, I feel happy. And when I have sex, I feel happy. Now, you see, an alcoholic like me, I want more of the happiness. I want more money. I want more fame. I want more sex. And I drive to get more. And if I don't get it, I become restless, irritable, and discontent. So let's come back to the big book. When it says the first requirement, I have to do this. The first requirement is that any life run on self will. So self is instincts, will is thinking. Any life run on instinctual thinking can hardly be a success. And on that basis, I'm going to be in collision with something or somebody, even though my motives are good, because they have the same instincts. You will ask me, Roy, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'll say, well, I'm 62 years old. I'm an Indian American. I own two small businesses. I'm the secretary of my society here in Goa. I'm the treasurer of my group in AA group. And I'm the founder of the Indo-American Society of Drug and Alcohol Counselors. I'm divorced. I'm currently single. I have a 21-year-old son. What have I told you? I've told you about myself. I've told you about my three instincts. For survival, I have two small businesses. For social, I'm secretary of my group. I'm treasurer of my AA group. I'm founder of a society. And for sex, I'm currently single and I've been married. Self will. When I'm driving on that, I get into trouble. So, what is the real problem? You turn to page 63, 62. And in the second paragraph, it says selfishness, self centeredness. That we think is the root of our problems. He did not say alcohol is the root of my problems. He did not say my horrible family and upbringing is the root. Selfish and self centered. Self means money, power, fame, and sex, survival, social, sexual. That is the root of my problems. And it says, driven by 100 forms of fear, self pity, self seeking, self delusion, we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that sometime in the past we have made decisions based on self, on instincts, which have placed us in a position to be hurt. So I want more money, I want more bhav, more fame, I want more sex. So I take actions. Those actions interfere with other people. They get pissed off because they want to hold on to their money and their wives and their fame. They retaliate. They retaliate. I get pissed off. And what happens when I get pissed off? I get restless, irritable, and discontented, and then I drink. And in the next paragraph on page 62, it says, so our troubles we think are basically of our own making. We have made the problem. They arise out of ourselves, our instincts. And here it is. The alcoholic is an extreme example of self will run riot, instinctual thinking run riot. I think I want more money. I think I want more fame. I think I want more sex. Will and life. Life is actions. Then I act and I get into trouble. How can I escape from this? I'm going to read a line from the big book which might shock your sponsor because it says, above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of selfishness. Who is the idiot who said this is a selfish program? Go give that son of a bitch 2 drinks. The sooner he drinks and dies and leaves AA, the better. This is not a selfish program. If we are selfish, we are going to die. Selfishness is the root of our problem. This is a selfless problem, selfless program. We have to do for others. I don't want to be sitting here expounding energy with bloody 3 heart attacks, but I have to do it. We must be rid of selfishness. How do I do that? Finally, at the bottom of page 62, it says, first of all, we have to quit playing God. It does not work. Oh, how am I playing God? They're given a whole beautiful example on the previous page, page 61, starting at the bottom of page 62. They say every alcoholic is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. I just put my name over there in that example. Roy is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. He's forever arranging everything. This is what I did. Hey, you go here, you do this, you do that, you do the other, and I will be okay. Even now, I'll give you an example. I told Sudhir, please make me co-host. Why? Because if somebody is annoying me, because I'm co-host, I can stop his video, I can stop his audio, I can remove him from the meeting. Hey, who the hell died and apart? This is how we play God. I'm like an actor who wants to be the director and wants to run the whole show. I've seen this in real life when I was working in film industry. The actor would come and tell the camera and boss, just give me 3 seconds more left profile. Next actor would come, Arey, if you give him 3 seconds more, you give me 3 seconds more. Then go to the light man. Don't put the spot, put the baby. Everybody wants to be the director. What happens? Everybody else is doing their job. So when things don't happen the way I want it to happen, I get restless, irritable, discontent, and I drink. So the big book on page 62 says selfishness is the root of our problem. We must be rid of selfishness. God makes that possible. And first, we have to stop playing God. How do I do that? And they give us 3 options. They say, next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be a director, not suggest a director. We know what a director does. Go here, do this, do that. He is the principal. We know what the principal does. Pass, fail. He is the father or the mother or the parent. They look after their children. So they are saying that next in the drama of life, God, whatever we decide God may be, is going to be our director. Now, if I decide that God is going to be in charge of me, and I'm not handing over, I am turning over, what am I going to get? Page 63, the top of the page, the beautiful third step promises. Established when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things happen. What position? I don't want to be selfish. God is going to be my director, my manager, my in charge. What are the remarkable things? Number one, he is the new employer. Number two, being all powerfully provided what I needed. Read the word, it says needed. I need a job, I need a girlfriend, I need good health, I need this, I need that. Whatever I need, God is going to provide. But there's a condition. If I kept close to him and performed his work well, I want all these things. God is saying, okay, ask your doctor and and tell Sudhir you will speak at this meeting. This is God's work. On this footing, I became less and less interested in myself, my money, my power, my fame, my sex. And my last girlfriend dumped me in December. I've been single since December. Okay, TK, when time is right, God will provide. More and more, I became interested in what I can do to life. Oh, I have to write a book. There's other things that I have to do. And now the most beautiful promise of the third step. As we felt new power flow in, wow, I have gone from powerlessness in step one to power in step three, and I've not even taken the step yet. As we enjoyed peace of mind, wow, I have gone from insanity in step two to peace of mind in step three. Have we discovered we could face life successfully? Wow, I have gone from unmanageability in step one to successful living in step three. As we became conscious of his presence, wow, I've gone from willing to believe to conscious of presence in step three. We began to lose our fear today, tomorrow, and hereafter. What will happen? Fantastic. Do I want this? Of course, I want this. Okay. If we want this, we are now at step three. And we have this whole step three prayer. We said to our Maker, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt, relieve with the bondage of self. I saw that prayer. ये मेरे को पसंद नहीं. I don't like this prayer. Thee, thou, it didn't make sense. In the next paragraph, they have written, the wording is quite optional. So I wrote my own prayer. God, I offer myself to thee. So morning I say, God, today I offer you from money, power, fame, and sex. You take it. Whatever my need is, you give. Relieve me of the bondage. Don't make me chase money, power, fame, and sex, but you give me what I need. In the last 48 hours, without doing anything, two new patients said, please, we want the treatment. I have not done anything. I have kept close and done God's work. Take away my difficulties, it says in the third step. What are my difficulties? Ill health, finance, fear of future, loneliness. Take them away. That victory over them will bear witness to God's power. So I wrote my third step prayer. They said you can do it with your wife, your best friend, the spiritual advisor, meaning sponsor, or meet God alone. So this is the third step. What is the action involved in third step? If I'm not handing over, if I'm turning over, what is the action? So those of you that have the real big book, the full black, blue and yellow edition with 581 pages, not that half measure one that you'll get. On page 5, on page 420, it says, acceptance is the key to my relationship with God. I never just sit and do nothing waiting for God to tell me what to do. I do what must be done and leave the results up to God. However, it turns out that is God's will for me. So, in 2008, the market crashed. I lost my job as director of the rehab. I was working some homeless shelter. I had to sell my car. My house went into foreclosure. I couldn't pay my EMA. So what did I do? Hand over. Okay, God, you solve the problem. No, I turned it over. God, let me turn over this problem to you, but I do what must be done. Updated my CV resume, went for interviews. I got two job offers. One was a fantastic job in New Jersey. One was in New York. New York one is paying less. I didn't get the New Jersey job. Very resentful at God. I got the New York job. I took it. 1 year later, Hurricane Sandy hit New Jersey. If Royceville was done, that city went, town went underwater, the rehab was closed. I'd have had no job, no nothing. I do what must be done, leave the results up to God. So that's step three. Now let's get to step four. So step four is actually very, very simple. Okay, step four is designed to be done quickly, thoroughly, but quickly. Sorry, I just dropped something. Step four is not supposed to be some 500 pages. So let me share my experience of step four. When I first came to A, this is what I heard. Arey, don't rush into step four. Take your time. Wait till you are 3, 4 years sober, then you do step four. Arey, don't do step four. Don't write anything. You don't know, some A member will drink and then gaya kaam se. You go find some priest and you tell him, Arey, don't do step four. Look at me. I'm 15 years sober. I have never done step four. I just come for meetings. I do seva and I'm sober. I'm not sitting in judgment. If that worked for them, good. It did not work for me. Eventually, the first guy that I met, he said, write your life story. So I sat, I wrote 147 pages from when I was born till I got sober. Okay. That is not the instruction in the big book. So let us see what the big book says. Having done step three, it says next. Next means immediately. We started on a course of vigorous action, a personal house cleaning. Many of us have never attended. What do I do in meetings here? I come in meetings and I complain. My wife's like this, my boss is like this, my traffic is like this, the bloody Indian cricket team is like that, the politics are like this. When do I talk about me? So on page 64 of the big book, it says, Step 4 needs to be taken at once. This is though step 3 was vital and crucial, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by an effort to face and to be rid of the things which had been blocking us. Let's say face and get rid of the bottles, face and be rid of things that had been blocking us. What has been blocking us? Big book says we get down to causes and conditions. They say resentment is the number one offender. Page 64. What is a resentment? Resentment is an actual replay of every negative thing that I've recorded since morning. My power went off. I got annoyed. My medication is not available at the pharmacy. I have to call two, three people. I got annoyed. My friend yelled at me. I got whatever. So I wake up in the morning and whatever is negative I record. And in drinking days, I have to go home in the evening, pour my first drink, and then press the replay button. Arey, this guy said this, that taxi driver said that, the office pew did this, my boss said that. And as I'm replaying all this, I'm drinking more and I'm planning revenge. So resentment is an action replay of all our negative stuff. And every time I replay it, again I experience the anger or the hurt or the pain or the self-pity. So what do? They start giving instructions. This is number one. We made a list of people, institution, principals whom we were angry. Yeah, if you're a newcomer or in your first week and you start to weigh, you'll have a list of 20 names immediately. Look at Bill W. page 65. He was sitting in hospital and he did his fourth step in the hospital. Mr. Mr. Brown, Mrs. Green, my employer, my wife. Second instruction, why am I angry? I'm angry because Mr. Brown is patawing my wife. He's trying to get my job. Mrs. Green has locked her husband in a rehab. My boss is shouting at me for stealing money from petty cash and threatening to fire me if I drink. And my wife is bloody fooling around with Mr. Brown and she might lock me up and she wants the house put in her name. So I'm pissed. But what is really affected? And on page 65, the big book looks at 5 areas: self esteem, money, ambitions, personal relations, sex relations. And then Bill added two more in his chart: pride and fear. So I'll give you one example. I was angry at my dad. That's the list. Why? Because he died when I was 16. He abandoned me. What got affected? Self esteem, yeah. Everybody else has two parents. I have only one parent. Money. I used to put out my dad 5 rupees here, 2 rupees there. Now mom is the bank. Bank of mom, no money. So money is affected. Ambition. You know, my ambition was that my father will give me advice. My father will be at my wedding. My father will meet my son. My ambitions were hurt or threatened. Personal relations. Because now my mom and my grandmom are in charge. So we used to keep having fights. Come home at 10 o'clock, no smoking, no drinking, no girlfriend, no this, no that, study. Sex relations were affected. 16 years old. No sex education in India, no father to instruct me. I didn't even know what I had to do and how I had to do it. Pride. When we used to go for school meeting, Arey, my father is CEO of this, my father is chairman that, my father this, Roy, my father is dead. Fear. He died of heart disease at age 48. I might also die. I was in a lot of fear at age 48. Eventually, it caught up. I had a heart attack. So that's one example of one resentment. And Bill has given a beautiful chart there. Very simple. Why am I angry? By whom am I angry at? Why am I angry? What has been affected? I fill that up. What happens next? On page 66, they say, we realize that these resentments are what are keeping us drinking here. They are fatal, fatal. They're infinitely grave. When I'm thinking about who I'm angry with, I cut my, there's no prayer going on at that time. So how do I escape? And the solution is bottom of page 66. But this was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. We didn't like their symptoms. But this is the prayer. God, this is a sick bastard. This is a sick person. Save me from being angry. Let me avoid retaliation and argument. Let me be patient and kind and tolerant and forgiving of him. How can I be helpful to him? Thy will be done. This is the actual prayer written in the big book on page 67. But all old timers are saying, pray for him, pray for him. Where did this pray for him come from? Yeah. So if you have that big book and you turn to page 52, this is one member's experience where he says, if you have a resentment, if you pray for the person or thing, you will be free. As for his health, his prosperity, his happiness, you will be free. There's nothing wrong with it. Pray for him. So I combine the two. So if I'm resentful, I say, Dear God, let's say Suvir is a sick person. Save me from being angry. Let me not retaliate or argue. Let me be kind and tolerant and patient to Sudhir. How can I help him? Thy will be done. And God, please give Sudhir everything that I want. I want good health. I want long life. I want a healthy child. I want a fatak girlfriend. I want a fast car. I want a big bungalow with a swimming pool. God, please give Sudhir. Now, the second part of resentment, also on page 67, in the second paragraph. Now it says we turn back to the list. So I go back to the list of names. It says, where have we been selfish, dishonest, self seeking, or fearful? So with my father, what did I do to him? Oh, I stole his money, his cigarettes, his alcohol. I lied about him. I gossiped about him. I manipulated him. This is what I did. That is where I have been selfish, dishonest, self seeking, and a fool. Where was I at fault? The next question is. Oh, why did I do that? Because I'm grandiose. I stole his money because I want to show off to all the children in school. I have money. I gossiped because, again, ego. Are my father this, my father that. I'm lazy. Instead of working and doing odd jobs at home, I'm stealing. I'm a thief. These are my defects. And the fourth question, am I willing to admit this and straighten it out? Yes. That's it. Column number one is the name from the fourth uh, step. Column number two is what did I do to them? Column number three is my defect. Where did uh, what was my defect? And column number four, am I willing to make an amendment? Yes, I know you will say there are no columns drawn on the page. Boss, every day in meetings, I hear that alcoholics are very smart people and we are smarter than everyone else. Good. And follow the damn directions from page 65 and just draw. Turn back to the list of names. Where was the selfish denial? That. Where was my defect? What was mine? Finished. End of it. Now what? Now we come to fear on page 68. You said we reviewed our fears thoroughly, even if there was no resentment involved. So first I look at my resentments. You know, am I fearful of any of these resentments? Number one, I am afraid of my dad. Next question. We asked ourselves why we had them. Why am I afraid of my dad? He will find out I'm lying and cheating and stealing and gossiping. And I'll get two. Those days there was corporal punishment in India. So now what is the solution? Here's what the big book says. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. So we are page 68, second paragraph. We are now in a different position that of trusting and relying upon God. Yes, because I've taken step three. So the bottom of the next paragraph, it says, we ask God to remove our fears and direct our attention to what He would have us be. And up it says, just to the extent that we do what God wants us to do, we will face calamity with serenity. So the prayer is to be, remove the fear, and show me what to be and what to do. Quick example. May 1st, 1996, I was emigrating to the USA and I got robbed at Amsterdam airport of everything that I had. All I was left was my passport, my ticket, and $50. Oh my God, 6 years sober. How am I going to survive now? How will I make my life in the US? Full of fear. So I said the prayer, Dear God, please remove this fear and show me what to do and what to be. One thought came in my mind, go make a police complaint. So I went and made a police complaint. Because of that, I could stop payment on the traveler's checks. Because of that police complaint, later all my copies could be certified truly at the Indian Embassy. Show me what to be. Be an example of a sober AA who has not had a drink in spite of getting robbed. I went for an AA meeting in Amsterdam. It was in Dutch. I didn't understand it, but language of the heart. 10 minutes before the end, one Britisher came. And I was the only one in the meeting who spoke enough English to be able to 12 step him and share his message. We talked for 3 hours. I never got any of my material back, but I did not drink. God enabled me to match calamity with serenity. So that is fear. Column one, what am I afraid of? Column two, why am I afraid? Column three, pray God, show me what to do, what to be. That's it. Then we come to the famous page 69, the sex inventory. So it says, and this is my best part. It says we all have sex problems and we want to stay out of this controversy. So my sponsor has no damn business telling me anything about my sex life. Why? Page 69, at the bottom of the page, it says, God alone can judge my sex situation. So any sponsor tells you you should not do this, you should not do that, give the bastard two drinks and tell him go do the steps, Ale. Don't give me your gyan. Read the big book and do what it says over there. Gyan, if I want, I'll pay a therapist and I'll get gyan from them. So what does the big book actually say about step one? Second paragraph on page 69. It says we reviewed our conduct over the years past. What was my conduct? I was a cheater. I used to withhold sex. I used to be arrogant. I used to be forceful. I used to be aloof. I used to lie. That was my conduct. I had affairs. Second question, whom did we hurt? I hurt the married lady I was having an affair with. I hurt her husband. I hurt her children. I hurt my girlfriend. I hurt the company that me and that lady were both working for. Third question, how did we hurt them? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, bitterness, or suspicion? Yes. My lover used to get bitter that I'm going back to my girlfriend. Her husband, my girlfriend, used to be suspicious. You're doing so much overtime and you're not bringing money home. My company was suspicious. You're always going to the warehouse looking for lost luggage. Why you're taking so long and why are you taking the secretary with you? But children were bitter because mom is not home to do their homework with them. Question number four, where were we at fault? Why did I do this? Why was I uh, having affairs and cheating? Because I was lazy. Ah, who is going to go find a girlfriend, patav her, take her for lunch, dinner, movie, then baad mein? Arey, easier to find some married woman who is lonely and not being treated well, and she can't even tell anyone. Lazy, arrogant, dishonest. This is where I was at fault. And question number five, what should I have done instead? I should have respected other people's relationships. I should have been honest to my own relationship. I should have been unselfish and loving and caring. And they say this way we form an ideal. So you see, when I came to AA, what was my first? I was only 28 years old when I got sober. What was my first ideal? If you're 18 years old, if we have a connection, and if you say yes, sex is going to happen. I don't care whether newcomer, old timer, married, divorced, Al-Anon, anything. I don't care. If you're 18, you're legal, and there's a connection, that's fine. This is sober. But as time went on, as I started growing in the fellowship, my I went back. I said I looked at my sex ideal. I said, but in my ideal, it's saying don't cheat. What am I doing? And I sat and I renewed my ideal. And in my new ideal, it says no cheating, being loving, being honest, being true, no screwing around with married people, with separated people, with engaged people, with other people's girlfriends, no newcomers, no Al-Anon, no spouse, none. I have been guilty of all of the above. So when you hear people say, "Hey, Roy sleeps with many people," I do. I don't do any more with those that are on my list to the best of my ability. And it says on page 69, we must be willing to grow towards this. I don't want to do these behaviors because it'll take me back to drinking. How do I know? Page 70, second paragraph. He said, if our behavior continues to hurt others, we are quite sure to drink. I don't want to drink. And I've made all these mistakes. But if we are sorry for what we have done and are willing to let God take us to better things, we believe we will be forgiven. But sex is very troublesome, yeah. Ah, that girl is so pretty. That lady, Shiplash is giving me the line. What to do? Page 70, paragraph number 3. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves harder into helping others. You think I want to sit here at this meeting and talk for 1 hour? No. I'm supposed to be resting in the afternoon. But sex is very troublesome. So I throw myself harder into helping others. We think of them, their needs. This takes us out of ourselves, but to yield might mean heartache. It's not easy, but it works. And then finally, we come to the last inventory, also on page 70. At the bottom of the page, there's just one line. It says, we have listed people we have hurt by our conduct and are willing to straighten out the past. So there are some people who are not on my resentment list, fear list, or sex list. One is my grandmother, but I stole her money, stole her jewels. I gave her so much tension. I gave her a headache. She used to wait till 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to make amends to her, pay the money back, apologize, ask her forgiveness. I have to do that. So many taxi drivers. I have vomited in their taxis. I have sat without money. I have told them, Arey, Vaisa, just pull over. I have to go to the bathroom, jump over the wall, run away. I don't know who they are, but now when I travel by taxi, I give a good tip to the people I'm with. So many companies. They gave me a full month salary. I used to go late, I used to go drunk, I used to do maja masti in the warehouse. Many of those companies are closed. So now when I work, I do extra work. I give extra. So finally on page 71, they said, if you have been thorough about this, you have made a beginning and you have swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. So what you've seen today in my talk is that step three, I made a decision, I made a choice to turn my thinking and my life, my instincts over to the care of God as I understand God. I got down to causes and conditions. I explored what I'm pissed off at, why I'm pissed off, what got affected. I prayed for the people that uh, I'm resentful at. I took my own inventory. What did I do to them? What was the defect? Am I willing to make amends? I looked at my fears. What am I afraid of? Why do I have the fear? And pray that God tell me what to do. I looked at my sex inventory. What was my fear, behavior? Whom did I hurt? How did I hurt them? Why did I do this? And what is my ideal? I asked God to help me live to that ideal and I throw myself harder into helping others. And finally, whom did I hurt other than these three columns? And how did I hurt them? And am I willing to make amends? And if I've done that, the best part is it says on page 71, we have made a good beginning. Saleh comedians they are. After doing so much work, we had a good beginning. But now that we had a good beginning, I hope whoever's doing the next chapter will take you through the rest of the steps. Thank you very much, Serenity Group, for giving me an opportunity to share. Thank you, Sudhir, and thank you all for listening so patiently. Thanks.